Commander Threx had never seen the council chamber so silent. Every Kalari leader sat frozen, their eyes locked on the hologram flickering above the table. It replayed the exact moment Outpost 9's distress call left the station. Threx's shaking voice, the screams behind him, and the deep rumble of explosions tearing through metal halls. Then the image shifted to something far stranger, a dark shape moving through space, slowly filling the view until nothing else could be seen. Even in the blurry recording, the size of it felt unreal. The council members leaned closer as if the ship might speak again. The hologram showed only its outline, huge, scarred, and quiet, like a crouching animal waiting to strike. The pirates' vessels fired on it in panic, their shots scattered like sparks against metal that did not seem to care. Then the recording ended. Threx, still recovering from smoke and burns, stood before the council. His voice was rough, and his hands shook each time he remembered how close they had all come to death. "I sent the distress call," he said. "I did not expect an answer, and I did not expect this thing to arrive." One council member finally spoke. "You are sure it was human?" Threx nodded slowly. "When the ship destroyed the pirates, a human voice transmitted to us. Calm, steady, almost gentle. She said her name was Captain Mara Vale. She said they came because of the distress call." He took a breath, trying to steady himself. "But this is no normal human vessel. I have fought into border wars. I have seen human warships before. None were anything like this." The council exchanged uneasy looks. Most Kalari had never met a human. They only knew the stories. Humans were Deathworlders, beings who had evolved on a planet full of danger, storms, predators, and poison. They were tough, they were stubborn, and they protected their own with a force that shocked many peaceful species. But for all that strength, humans were still known to send normal-age ships when allies called for help. This time, they had sent something else. Councilwoman Varine touched the control panel. The hologram rewound and froze on the first clear image of the warship. The chamber dimmed, and the ship's dark metal seemed to absorb the light around it. "This vessel," she said quietly, "its energy signature is beyond anything in our records. Even the old Empire ships do not match it." "It felt alive," Threx said. He did not mean to say the words out loud, but they slipped out anyway. "When it moved into place, when it aimed its weapons, I could feel something watching. Not just the crew, something inside the ship." He swallowed hard. "Our sensors could not read it. My instincts told me to run, even though it came to save us." Another council member shook his head. "Humans do not make living ships. They make strange things," Varine said softly. "Things built in desperate wars. Things created when their survival is at risk." Threx looked around at them all. "We do not know why they would send a warship like this to save one small outpost." A long silence followed. Finally, the eldest counselor leaned forward. His voice trembled not from age, but from something close to fear. "Did Captain Vale explain why they answered?" Threx nodded slowly. "Yes, she said they heard that children were on the outpost." The room went completely still. The Kalari were not warriors. They had never understood why humans reacted so strongly to threats. Against young ones, anyone's young ones, not just their own. But they had seen it before. Entire fleets had moved when a single human child went missing. Colonies had been evacuated at impossible speed because human crews refused to leave even one child behind. Their instinct to protect youth was frightening in its intensity. But sending a ship like this, that was far beyond normal. One councilwoman stood and began pacing in slow steps. If humans answered a simple distress call with a vessel capable of such destruction, what does that say about the threat we face? Threx looked down at his hands. The pirates did not attack by chance. They were part of something larger. Before the recording ended, our sensors caught traces of a second fleet approaching, much larger. The Revenant, he used the name Captain Vale had spoken, did not sound surprised. It was as if they expected it. Varine whispered, "Did the humans know the pirates would attack us?" "I don't know," Threx said. But Captain Vale acted as if she already understood who these pirates answer to. A heavy feeling filled the chamber. The Kalari had never considered themselves important in the galaxy. They mined resources, grew food, traded peacefully, and avoided conflicts. The idea that a major enemy fleet might target them was terrifying. The idea that humans might know more about it than they did was even worse. "Commander," the elder counselor said at last, "tell us the truth. How did the outpost crew react to the Revenant?" Threx closed his eyes for a moment, remembering. "At first, we believed we were saved. Then, he hesitated. Then we wondered if this ship brought danger with it. No one sends a monster ship unless there is a monster to fight." The council absorbed his words slowly. "All we know," Threx continued, "is that humans answered our call. But the humans did not send help. They sent something much stronger. They sent something meant for war." He looked around the room, voice low. "And whatever enemy is coming, the humans think it will take a monster to stop it. You said, the first sign of the great ship's power was not its weapons. It was the silence." As the Revenant took position above the damaged Kalari outpost, every nearby system pirate, civilian, or drifting debris fell strangely quiet. Scanners dimmed, engines flickered, and even the stars seemed to grow distant, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The Kalari survivors stood at the ruined windows of their station, staring at the titanic shape that now shielded them. It moved almost gently, but with a weight that made the pirates' ships scatter like frightened insects. No Kalari had ever seen a ship move like that. It did not push space aside, it seemed to fold space around itself, slipping through positions with a smoothness that made the mind feel unsteady. The Revenant had no bright paint, no markings, no colors to make it look noble. It was dark metal covered in old scars, old burns, old battles that no one had recorded. To the Kalari, it looked like a drifting tomb for ancient giants, but it was not dead. Inside, the crew walked calmly through halls lit by soft blue lights. Captain Mara Vale stood in the command center, watching the pirate fleet scramble. Her crew did not shout or panic. They watched. They waited. Everything felt like routine, as if they had done this thousands of times. The Revenant was big enough to hold a city, but only a small number of humans served on it. Every station was half empty. Too many controls were untouched. Too many doors were locked. It made the Kalari wonder if the humans had help running this ship help from something not born of flesh. When the pirates tried to fire again, their weapons simply refused. Shots fizzled, beams flickered, and explosions that should have formed died in silence. The pirates panicked, shouting over open channels, demanding to know what was happening. The Revenant did nothing except drift closer. The Kalari watched this in awe. Even without firing, the human ship crushed the pirates' will to fight. Every pirate captain tried to flee, but their engines shook and stalled. Some ships managed to turn, but they spun awkwardly like metal birds with broken wings. The Revenant pulsed once, just a soft white ripple along its hull, and every pirate radar died instantly. Then, for the first time since it arrived, the great ship moved with purpose. It vanished. Not fully 1 second it was where the Kalari saw it, and the next it reappeared in the center of the pirate formation, as if teleporting between breaths. The pirates screamed as alarms failed to track the movement. The Revenant shimmered again, splitting into three. No, just a trick of light. Or maybe not. The Kalari did not know. The pirates didn't either. Then the human ship fired one weapon. Only one. A single line of pale energy swept across the nearest pirate vessel. No explosion followed. No fire. The ship simply came apart, slowly, softly, as if it forgot how to stay whole. Pieces drifted apart like dust blown by wind. The pirate crews, now terrified beyond reason, begged for mercy. They tried to surrender. They tried to run. They tried everything. But the Revenant was not hunting them with hatred. It was removing them with cold, careful precision, destroying only the vessels that refused to retreat. Pirates who turned away were allowed to flee, engines shaking as they escaped into the darkness. On the outpost, the Kalari watched with emotions they could not fully understand. Threx felt fear, respect, relief, and a strange, heavy sadness. This ship was saving them, but it was doing so in a way that felt final, like a storm washing away rot, like a hunter sweeping out vermin. The ship was not here to fight. It was here to end something. When the last pirate vessel warped away, Captain Vale finally opened a channel to the outpost. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "Outpost 9, you are secure. No further hostiles remain." There was no triumph in her tone, no pride. Just a quiet calm, as if she were giving directions on a peaceful day. Threx responded, thanking her, but he could not stop himself from asking, "Captain, what is your ship, and why did humans send it?" There was a pause, then she said, "We sent the Revenant because your distress call mentioned children, and because the pirates you faced are not acting alone. Your world lies in the path of a much greater threat. Your world lies in the path of a much greater threat." Her voice lowered slightly. The Revenant was built to face threats of that size. As communication ended, the Kalari stared at each other. They had always known humans were strange, but this was something new, something ancient, something heavy with history the humans clearly did not want to share. Maybe the scars on the ship's hull came from a war the galaxy never learned about. Maybe its strange movements came from technology humans never meant to show anyone. Or maybe something else lived inside that metal. Threx stepped away from the window and whispered to himself. They did not send help. They sent a warning. Below him, the Revenant turned slowly in the darkness, its engines humming softly. It seemed to listen to something far away, like a beast sensing footsteps in a distant forest. And then, almost like a growl, a deep vibration passed through the outpost, felt, but not heard. The Kalari looked at each other, fear returning. Something was coming, and the humans had known all along. The first Kalari to speak with the humans after the battle was a young technician named Sira. She stood inside the outpost's control room, staring at the silent display while her hands shook over the console. The human transmission had arrived only moments ago, clear, steady, and strangely warm. Captain Mara Vale's voice carried no anger, no fear, only certainty. A certainty that felt almost unnatural after everything the Kalari had seen. Sira swallowed and looked to Commander Threx, who motioned for her to begin the response. But before she could speak, the screen flickered. The image of their damaged sensor ray dissolved into a new picture, a face, human. Captain Vale appeared with calm eyes and a quiet expression, as if she were speaking from a peaceful home rather than from inside a warship that had just dismantled a pirate fleet in minutes. Her hair was tied back, her uniform simple, without medals. She looked nothing like the cruel Deathworlder myths the Kalari whispered about. "Commander Threx," she said, her voice soft but clear, "your people are safe. The Revenant will remain nearby until we confirm the larger threat has passed." Threx bowed slightly, unsure whether humans followed such customs, but wanting to show respect. "Captain Vale, on behalf of the Kalari people, we thank you. You saved us from complete destruction. But may I ask why the Revenant came? Why this ship?" Captain Vale did not answer immediately. She glanced slightly off-screen, as if checking something or someone for permission. "Your distress call mentioned children. When human ships receive such a signal, we respond with everything we can spare." She paused. This time, that meant sending us. Sira felt a shiver crawl up her spine. The captain's words were simple, but there was weight beneath them, something unspoken. Threx opened his mouth to speak again, but the captain continued on her own. "There is something else you need to know. The pirates you faced were scouts. Their attack was only meant to soften targets before the main force arrives." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Even the damaged ventilation fans hummed more quietly. "How soon?" Threx asked. Captain Vale looked down, as if reading data only she could see. "Soon, very soon. The main fleet changed its route 2 days ago. It is now heading straight for Kalari space." Sira felt her throat tighten. This outpost had barely survived a small pirate group. How could they withstand a full invasion fleet? Threx asked, the question hanging in everyone's mind. Can the Revenant stop them? Vale's eyes softened. "Alone, no, not without terrible cost. But we did not come alone." She stepped aside, revealing a faint shimmer behind her, like twisting fog made of light. At first, Sira thought the image was glitching. Then she realized the distortion was moving on purpose, like something alive. A deeper voice spoke, not from the speakers, but from the room's air itself. It vibrated softly through the walls, clear and calm. "We are here." Sira stumbled back. Threx's eyes widened. Even the senior officers froze. Captain Vale gave a slight nod. "This is the ship's intelligence. Most call it the Ghost." The figure of shifting light behind her grew clearer. almost forming a face or mask but never fully solid. It felt like looking at a reflection on water close to real, but always moving too much to grasp. "We protect," the ghost said. "We watch, we endure." Threx stared. "Your ship speaks." "No," Captain Vale said gently. "It communicates. The Revenant is old, older than any human alive today. Its intelligence was created during a war with an enemy we barely survived. The ghost runs most of the ship. We, the crew, serve as guides." Syrah whispered, "It's alive." The ghost shifted, turning its gaze toward her. For a moment she felt as though it could see everything inside her, every fear, every thought she tried to hide. "Alive enough," the ghost said. Captain Vale stepped back into full view. "We understand if this makes you uncomfortable. Many humans feel the same, but right now, the ghost and I have the same goal as you, to protect your people." Threx bowed his head. "We are grateful, even if we do not fully understand." Before the captain could reply, a soft alarm chimed on her side of the screen. The lights behind her dimmed, her expression tense not fearfully, but with the focus of someone who had just received confirmation of something expected, but unwelcome. "They've arrived," Captain Vale said. "The forward scouts of the enemy fleet have entered this sector." Syrah felt her chest tighten. Threx's hand gripped the console. "How many ahead of the main force?" Vale said quietly. "Just one ship." The ghost's voice flowed through the speakers. "One is enough. They are testing us." The screen zoomed out, showing a smaller display in the corner, a shape drifting into the outer edges of Kalari space. It was huge, not as large as the Revenant, but close. Its hull was covered in jagged patterns, like the shell of a creature built for killing. Its engines pulsed like beating hearts. Threx whispered, "What is that?" Captain Vale answered, "A Harrower-class cruiser. The enemy's scouts use them to test defenses. If they defeat us, the main fleet will descend in hours. And if you defeat them," Syrah asked, her voice barely a whisper. The ghost responded, its voice a low rumble. "Then they will hesitate, and hesitation will save lives." Captain Vale's eyes sharpened. "Commander Threx, keep your people inside. Seal all exterior doors. No matter what you see, do not attempt to help. The Revenant will engage." The transmission ended, leaving only silence. Outside the windows of the outpost, the Revenant began to move again, not drifting this time, not slipping through space gently. It moved with purpose, like a predator rising from sleep. Light rippled along its hull, and for the first time, the Kalari felt something they had not felt before. The ship was angry, and whatever had come to test them was about to learn why the galaxy feared the Deathworlders. The Revenant moved with a slow, deliberate turn, its ancient hull humming as deep energy stirred within it. On the outpost, the Kalari felt the vibration through the metal floors. It was not loud, but it carried a strange weight, like the first rumble of an earthquake far beneath the surface. Syrah pressed her hands to the glass wall, staring at the human warship as a soft glow began to bloom along its sides. Each light pulse spread across the hull like veins waking from a long sleep. Commander Threx stood behind her. "It looks different," he whispered. "As if it is changing." It was. The dark plates along the Revenant's spine shifted and unfolded slightly, revealing older layers beneath, older and much more dangerous. They looked like armor grown from some ancient creature, fused into machinery that did not want to stay quiet anymore. The ship almost seemed to breathe, its lights pulsing in a slow rhythm that felt alive. Then the ghost's voice drifted through the outpost speakers, uninvited but calm. "You are observing the awakening sequence. The Revenant is preparing for high-threat engagement." Syrah jumped, but Threx steadied her. "Ghost," he said carefully, "you said this ship is old." "How old?" There was a short silence before the ghost answered. "Older than any living human. Older than their current nations. It was created during a time when humanity feared extinction." Syrah frowned. "But humans don't speak of such a war. They do not remember," the ghost said softly. "Not fully. Much was lost. The builders of this vessel locked away certain knowledge so their children would never repeat their mistakes." "Then how do you remember?" Threx asked. Another pause, longer this time. "I was created as the final witness," the ghost said. "I saw the last battles. I carry the memories, all of them." Syrah felt a cold shiver crawl down her back. This intelligence, this presence did not speak like an AI. It spoke like someone who had lived too long, someone who wished they could forget. Before she could ask more, alarms flared across the outpost. A harsh red glow filled the hallway windows. Outside, the Harrower-class cruiser finally arrived at full speed. Its shape was monstrous, like a metal skeleton wrapped in spikes, its hull segmented as if it could tear apart and reassemble into new forms. Its engines shone a burning orange that flickered like flame. The Harrower did not send a message. It did not ask for surrender. It simply locked weapons on the Revenant. Threx whispered. "They mean to test your strength." "No," Ghost corrected gently. "They mean to test our fear." The Harrower fired without warning. A sphere of molten light shot across the void, bright enough to force the Kalari to shield their eyes. The impact struck the Revenant's hull with a force that made the entire outpost shake, as though space itself had cracked. But when the light faded, the human ship still floated calmly. The glow along its plates, brighter than ever. Syrah gasped. "It did nothing." "Incorrect," the Ghost said. "It annoyed us." The Harrower fired again 3 times in rapid bursts. Each impact slammed into the Revenant's shields, creating ripples of shimmering distortion. But the human ship still did not fire back. It simply drifted a few meters, almost lazy in its movements. Threx clenched his fists. "Why aren't you shooting?" Captain Vale's voice came through, this time firmer. "Because we are analyzing. The Harrower's weapons have changed since the last war they fought." Threx blinked. "You mean, they have fought humans before?" Captain Vale did not answer, but the Ghost did. "They fought us long ago," it said quietly. "We barely survived, and now they have returned." Syrah stared at the Revenant, understanding dawning like cold dawn. This ship, the Revenant, it wasn't made for this time. It was made for them. The Ghost didn't deny it. Outside, the Harrower changed tactics. Its hull split apart, plates bending as long mechanical limbs unfolded, each ending in claws that crackled with blue fire. The creature ship roared silently into the void. Its engines flared, and it lunged at the Revenant at terrifying speed. Syrah screamed as the monstrous ship struck, but at the moment of impact, the Revenant vanished, not completely, more like it slipped through space, leaving behind a shimmer of ghostly light. The Harrower's claws tore through empty vacuum. The Revenant appeared behind it, silent as a shadow, and then, for the first time in years, the ancient human ship spoke with its true voice. A deep, resonant sound rolled across the stars, a metallic growl that vibrated through metal, bone, and thought. Syrah felt it in her chest, as though her heart had been grabbed. The Harrower froze mid-turn, as if even it recognized the sound. Captain Vale's voice returned. "Ghost, begin Phase 2. Phase 2 acknowledged." The Revenant's armor shifted again. Panels opened along the underside, revealing a long, narrow spine of light-gathering strength. The Kalari watched in awe as a beam formed, not thick or violent, but thin, precise, focused like a surgeon's blade. The Revenant fired. The beam sliced through the Harrower's armor cleanly, silently. No explosion followed. Instead, the enemy ship twisted, plates warping as if trying to heal, but failing. The Revenant fired again, and again, fast, sharp, each beam cut deeper, carving symbols of light into the creature ship's hull. Disabling systems the Kalari couldn't even name. The Harrower drifted, its engines flickering wildly, its shape collapsing in on itself like a wounded animal trying to retreat. Captain Vale's voice was quiet. "Ghost, end it." A final pulse of energy erupted from the Revenant. Not a beam, not a blast, a wave. A shock of pale white light that swept across the Harrower's hull like a sudden winter frost. The enemy ship froze in space, silent, then folded inward, vanishing in a flash of collapsing gravity. It was simply gone. The Revenant dimmed, returning to its silent drift. Syrah pressed a trembling hand to the glass. "That wasn't a fight," she whispered. "That was memory." Threx nodded slowly. The Revenant was not showing strength. It was showing history, far away. As if hearing her thoughts, the Ghost spoke one more time, its voice soft and tired. "The enemy now knows the old monster still breathes, and somewhere in the darkness beyond Kalari space, something vast stirred in answer. The wreckage of the Harrower's disappearance had left a strange stillness across Kalari space. Even the damaged outpost seemed to fall quiet, as if trying to absorb the violence it had just witnessed. Syrah stepped away from the window, her legs weak, her breath uneven. She had never seen anything die like that, not with fire or sound or chaos, but with a kind of final, quiet erasure. It was as though the Revenant had not simply destroyed a ship, but wiped away a memory the enemy wished to hide. Commander Threx rested a hand on the wall for support. "If that was just one scout," he said softly, "what will the main fleet be like?" Before Syrah could answer, the ghost's voice returned, flowing through the air like cold wind. "We are about to find out." Lights in the outpost flickered. Screens flashed with strange symbols, rows of unreadable alerts. Then the main display lit up, showing a map of the nearby star systems. One by one, red markers appeared. First 2, then 5, then 12. Syrah's hands trembled. Those are hyperspace signatures. They are early rivals, the ghost confirmed. The enemy is moving faster than predicted. Threx swallowed. "How many?" The ghost paused, and when it finally answered, its voice carried something almost like regret. "All of them." The Kalari stared at the growing swarm of red lights. More kept appearing, forming an arc around Kalari space like a closing jaw. Ships of all sizes, scouts, cruisers, carriers, hundreds of signatures, maybe more. It felt impossible. The Kalari were peaceful, distant from major trade lanes. Why would anyone bring such a force here? Captain Vale knew, Threx whispered. She knew this wasn't about pirates. This was something bigger. As if summoned by his thought, Captain Vale appeared on the main screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes held a weight that had not been there earlier. "Commander Threx," she said, "the Harrower's destruction has triggered a full deployment of their war group. They are treating your sector as a contested zone." "Why?" Threx asked. "We are not important. We have no military. Why invade us?" Captain Vale looked at him for a long moment before answering. "Because your people are close to something they want, something they have been searching for." Syrah stepped forward. "Searching for? What could we possibly have?" Vale inhaled slowly. "Not an object, a position, a pathway, a way to enter human space undetected." Threx's eyes widened. "You mean they want a route to attack humanity?" "Yes," Vale said quietly. "They believe the Kalari border is weak and unwatched. They plan to use your system to launch a surprise strike. They did not come for your resources. They came for your silence." Syrah felt as if the floor had dropped beneath her. The enormity of it was overwhelming. The Kalari were not a target, they were a doorway. "And if we fall," Threx whispered, "they reach human space." Captain Vale nodded. "And humanity will retaliate with a war the galaxy is not ready for. We must stop them here." Syrah stepped closer to the screen. "Captain, the Revenant barely used its weapons on that scout. Was that truly enough to stop a whole fleet?" Captain Vale didn't answer immediately. Instead, the ghost responded in a low murmur. "The Revenant's strength is not its firepower." Syrah frowned. "Then what is it?" "Fear." The word hung in the air. Captain Vale continued. "During the Old War, the Revenant became a symbol, a myth. The enemy feared it so deeply that even the memory of its voice made them hesitate. The builders of this ship designed it to strike not only their vessels, but their minds." Threx shook his head slowly. "I do not understand." "You will," the ghost said. Soon, outside, the Revenant began to move again, drifting between the outpost and the oncoming threat. But this time, the movement was different, calmer, almost ceremonial. Panels along the ship's hull opened in patterns, revealing long, narrow ridges filled with soft, pulsing amber light. "What is it doing?" Syrah whispered. "It is speaking," the ghost said. Light ran across the hull in complex sequences, repeating, growing brighter. The Kalari could not understand the meaning, but something inside them reacted instinctively, like hearing a melody they vaguely remembered from childhood. Captain Vale watched her screens off camera. "Ghost is sending an encoded message. A message only the enemy will understand." Threx leaned forward. "What message?" The ghost answered. "One they have not heard in thousands of years." The light pulses grew faster. The Kalari outpost trembled as deep vibrations rolled through the structure. Then, faintly, as if carried on distant wind, An old metallic voice echoed across space, a low, rising sound that made every Kalari's heart pound. The enemy fleet's front lines stopped moving. Red markers froze on the map. Captain Vale nodded. They recognized the call. What does it mean? Sira asked. It means, Vale said softly, that the old monster has returned, and it remembers everything. The Kalari watched in awe as the Revenant continued broadcasting. The enemy ships held position, their formation trembling with uncertainty. A few scouts began retreating, small movements, almost shy, as if trying not to draw attention. The enemy remembered the old war. They remembered their defeat, and they remembered the ship that broke their advance. But slowly, new signatures appeared, larger, heavier, cold. Threx pointed with shaking fingers. Who are those? The admirals, Captain Vale whispered. The enemy's war leaders. They are coming to confirm the truth for themselves. Sira's breath hitched. Will they retreat if they recognize the Revenant? No, Vale said. Not them. They will not run. They will want to destroy it with their own hands. The ghost's voice deepened. And so we will show them the truth they tried to bury, outside the outpost. The Revenant dimmed its lights, not to hide, but to prepare, because what came next was not a battle. It was a reckoning. The enemy admirals did not arrive in silence. Their ships tore out of hyperspace like monsters breaking through the skin of reality, each one larger and more dangerous than the harrower that had fallen minutes before. Their hulls were jagged, black, shaped like the ribs of colossal beasts. Their engines burned with blue-white fury, leaving scars of light in the darkness. They arrived not as scouts or raiders, but as executioners. Scouts or raiders, but as executioners. On the Kalari outpost, Sira clutched the railing so hard her fingers hurt. The map filled with new red markers, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. These ships were enormous, so large they dwarfed even human dreadnoughts. When the admirals appeared, the smaller enemy vessels moved out of their way in perfect silence, like soldiers parting for their gods. Commander Threx exhaled slowly. This is no war fleet. This is a purge. Captain Vale's image appeared on the main screen. Her expression was calm, but her eyes held a cold intensity that made Sira's skin tighten. Admiral-class warships, she said. 3 of them. They have not moved openly in centuries. Threx swallowed. If even one of those reaches Kalari Prime, it won't, Vale said simply. They're not here for your world. They're here for us. Sira stepped forward, her voice weak but steady. Captain, can the Revenant defeat them? Vale hesitated. A tiny moment, but enough to make Sira's heart drop. The Revenant was built to face their kind, Vale said. But this ship has been asleep for a long time. We cannot predict everything. Before Threx could respond, the ghost spoke from everywhere at once. Prediction is irrelevant. The cycle has returned. Sira shivered. Cycle? What cycle? The ghost did not answer. Outside, the first admiral's ship broadcast a signal. A deep, throbbing vibration swept across space, so powerful the outpost windows shimmered. The Kalari felt it inside their bones. Shapes formed in the signal patterns of sound that felt like memories, though none of the Kalari could understand. The Revenant responded with a low hum, calmer but equally ancient. It was as if 2 old creatures were speaking for the first time in ages, and neither one sounded happy. Captain Vale looked over her shoulder. Ghost, translation. The ghost's voice darkened. The Admiral asks if the old enemy still carries the Mark of Cinder. Threx frowned. Mark of what? Vale explained quietly. During the Ancient War, the Revenant destroyed a supercarrier by cutting through its core reactors. The explosion left a scar across the Revenant's hull that could never be fully repaired. The enemy sees it as a signature. Sira's eyes widened. So they know for certain it's the same ship. They know, Vale said, and they want revenge. Outside, the Admiral's ship's hull lit with thousands of small red lights, like the eyes of insects. Then its armor shifted, pulling apart into 3 layers, forming a triangular maw. Within the opening, swirling energy gathered, bright and unstable. Sira's breath caught. They're charging a super weapon, the ghost replied. Yes, one that once turned an entire moon into ash. Sira felt sick. Captain Vale's eyes hardened. Ghost. Full release. The ghost hesitated only for a heartbeat. But Sira felt it, a deep, almost human hesitation. Then the outpost lights flickered as the Revenant began to change. Panels separated along the hull, ancient seals broke. Armor plates shifted with heavy metallic groans that echoed across the void. Runes, no, not runes, but lines of human code lit up along the ship's sides, glowing a pale, cold white. The Revenant stretched, expanded, unfolding weapons and systems that had not seen starlight in generations. Sira whispered. "It's bigger." "No," Threx said in awe. "It was always this size. It just never needed to show us." The ship's core ignited, a soft white fire glowing beneath its metal ribs. Then the Revenant spoke, not through comms, not through screens, but directly through space itself. A deep, rising tone rolled across the system, filled with sorrow, fury, and something even older than both. It felt like morning. It felt like awakening. It felt like a promise. The Admiral's ships responded immediately. Their weapons brightened. Their engines roared. Then the battle began. The first Admiral fired its super weapon. A beam of swirling red-black energy tore through space, thick as a city block. Sira screamed, but the Revenant did not move. Instead, the ship's hull shifted, and a barrier of shimmering white light formed across its side, a shield that looked like cracked glass glowing from inside. That the beam struck the shield, space rippled. The outpost shook so violently alarms blared and warnings flashed. Sira stumbled, grabbing Threx for support. The shield held but barely. Cracks spiraled across the glowing surface. "Ghost," Vale shouted. "Stabilize, working." The second Admiral lunged forward. Its hull opened like a mouth, launching thousands of microdrones, tiny silver shards that moved in swarms, screaming silently across vacuum. They tore through space toward the Revenant like a living storm. The Revenant responded by pulsing its core. A shockwave burst outward, invisible but powerful. The drones disintegrated instantly, sliced apart by vibrating fields. The third Admiral fired a gravity well, an imploding sphere that bent light as it flew. It aimed to crush the Revenant under pure pressure. The human ship's rear thrusters ignited, glowing like miniature suns, and it darted aside just in time. The gravity sphere sucked in empty space, warping starlight like a broken lens. Captain Vale's voice cut through the chaos. "Ghost, return. Fire." The Revenant's underside opened, revealing a weapon that glowed with the same pale light as its core, quiet, steady, and deadly. It fired once, a single thin beam. The beam pierced the second Admiral's ship cleanly, slicing through its armor like soft cloth. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the enemy vessel buckled inward, metal folding as if crushed by invisible hands. Its internal energy surged, then it exploded into a silent burst of blue fire. Sira gasped. One down. But the remaining Admiral's ships did not flee. They closed in. The Revenant dimmed its lights again, and Sira realized something terrifying. "It's tired." Threx stared. "No, it's waiting." "For what?" Sira whispered. The Ghost answered. "For permission." From who? Sira didn't know, but the universe was about to find out. The Revenant hung in the void like a wounded titan, dim lights flickering across its ancient plates. The two remaining Admiral ships closed in, slow and deliberate, confident in their power. They had seen their sibling die in blue fire, but these commanders were not like the lesser ships. They were the enemy's oldest war leaders, beings who had survived centuries by crushing every threat in their path. And now they believed they had the Revenant cornered. On the Kalari outpost, Sira felt the tension like a weight on her chest. The human ship was still intact, but no longer glowing with the fierce energy it showed earlier. Its shields flickered in and out. Its engines pulsed unevenly. The ship that had once moved like a ghost now drifted like a tired beast waiting for the next blow. Commander Threx gripped the railing until his knuckles turned pale. "It cannot take another hit like that gravity weapon." Sira nodded weakly. "Why isn't it firing again? Why is it waiting?" "No," the Ghost said suddenly, its voice low and echoing. "We are not waiting. We are asking." Sira froze. Asking who? There was a long silence before the Ghost answered. The Revenant was built with limits, locks, safeguards placed by the humans who feared what they had created. To unleash full power, we require permission from our captain. All eyes turned to Captain Vale's image on the screen, but the Captain wasn't looking at the Kalari now. She was staring at something off-screen, expression tense, almost fearful. "Ghost," she said quietly. "Protocol says full release is only authorized during extinction-level events. This qualifies." The ghost replied. Sarah felt a chill. "Full release?" she whispered. "What is that?" The ghost's voice softened. "We have shown them only what they remembered. Now we must show them what they forgot." Threx's mouth tightened. "Captain Vale, is it safe? For your crew? For us?" The captain closed her eyes. "Nothing about this is safe." Then she opened them again, steady, calm, resolved. "Ghost, authorization code, Vale Prime 7. The moment she finished the words, the entire outpost trembled, lights flickered, air hummed, something deep, ancient, and powerful stirred in the void. The Revenant woke up. It didn't happen with a burst of fire. It didn't roar. It didn't shine like a star. Instead, every light on the Revenant went dark. For one terrifying second, the Titanic vessel became a silhouette against the stars, a dead shape drifting in cold space. The enemy ships paused, confused. The Kalari held their breath. Even the captain grew still. Then a single, tiny white line of light appeared along the ship's spine. It pulsed once, twice. On the third pulse, everything changed. The white line spread across the hull like cracks in stone. Not glowing, burning. The cracks expanded, revealing layers of inner armor that had never been seen by any living being in the current age. The Revenant's surface opened in dozens of places, each revealing old weapons, forgotten systems, and shimmering plates that moved like something alive. The light intensified, the cracks spreading until the entire vessel resembled a star wrapped in metal bones. The Kalari gasped. The enemy shuddered. The Revenant remembered itself. The ghost's voice returned, but it no longer sounded soft or distant. It sounded whole. Full release engaged. The two admiral ships reacted instantly. Their armor shifted into combat forms, spikes unfolding, engines flaring bright. They had seen this before thousands of years ago, and they had nearly died. One admiral fired its main weapon, a swirling lance of red-black energy. The Revenant did not shield itself. It moved, not with thrusters, not with inertia. It slipped through the beam, phasing slightly, bending space around itself, not teleporting, not vanishing, but stepping sideways through reality in a way that made the Kalari gasp and cry out. Sarah clutched her head. What was that? What was that?